future. But thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Barry Erickson. I am Community Engagement Coordinator at Wheaton Public Library. We offer a lot of different programs. We have tried to get up to speed very quickly in providing programs for you via Zoom. And so we have a lot of things going on for you. I know that you all are very crafty. So one thing that you might be interested in is tomorrow's program, again at 2 o'clock, we are doing do-it-yourself face masks. So if you've been wondering how to come up with all of these face masks, we know that we have to have them whenever we go out. And sometimes we might need to have multiples so that we can keep them clean and have one for every member of the family or a couple. Again, we have do-it-yourself face masks to see a couple of different ways to make those, both with a sewing machine and not needing a sewing machine, all those kinds of things. So just as you registered for this program, you could register for that one. So that's coming up right away. But we have lots of things available on the calendar. We have a Senior Housing 101 presentation next Monday about all the different options that are available. We have book discussions and film discussions, just lots of things out there that we would love to have you join us for. So please take a look at the library calendar and sign up for any of those that are of interest to you. We would love to see you again soon. We also want to remind you to go ahead and fill out your census, and more important, perhaps now than ever, as we're thinking ahead about funding for our state and our community. But I think that's all that I need to say from the library, besides just welcome. Again, we are so glad that you're here. Just a reminder for a couple who joined us recently, this program is being recorded so that we can see it again in the future. I'm going to be screen sharing the videos, but your videos will not be on that recording, and all of your microphones are muted. So how you will communicate your questions and your comments is through the chat. So if you look, it's probably along the bottom of your Zoom screen, kind of, at least for me, it's kind of in the middle. There's a little like conversation bubble like you'd see in a cartoon, and it says chat. If you click on that, it should open on the right side of your screen, and that's how you will be able to tell us your comments and communicate any questions that you have for Laura. So then she has 4 different cards to show us. They're all gorgeous and very inspiring. I'm ready to get my cardstock out right away. But she'll be pausing between each of those to answer questions. And I will read those questions from the chat window aloud so that everybody knows what the question is. And then Laura will be able to answer it. And I think that's all. If somebody has a question right away, they could go ahead and put it in the chat to try it out. But let me make sure that we've got that chat going to everyone. And I think I will go ahead and turn it over to Laura and she can get started. Thank you so much for doing this for us, Laura. We are excited and ready to be really challenged and inspired by the beautiful things that you're going to show us today.
Thank you for all the behind the scenes work that has gone into making this happen. For those of you watching today, this is a miracle that we could put this together and that this could happen, and we have an opportunity to craft together. So anyway, I'm Laura Barto from Studio One Stampers. I recognize lots of the names that flashed up, and so many of you have actually been here to my home and know what's going on. But for those of you who don't, 18 years ago, I went to a home party and I brought my 12-year-old daughter with me, and she and I both fell in love with rubber stamping for the first time. When we saw the colors and the ink and how things went together, it just opened a whole new world of crafting to us. And at the time, she said, Mom, I want you to do this as a business. I'll do it with you. But I was pretty smart, realizing that every 12-year-old's promise to walk the dog and feed the dog every day wasn't going to happen. So I waited a few months to see if this would wane. Well, it didn't. And she decided that she wanted me to be part of this business with me. So together with my 12-year-old, we started stamping together. And today she's a chaplain in a hospital and uses her crafting to work with the moms in a NICU, where their moms are stuck there with their babies, you know, waiting to come home. And she does all kinds of crafting with them. So this has been a long time evolving into a wonderful hobby for her and a career for me. And I'm delighted to be here to show you some of the things that I've learned over time. So today's class, just so you understand my thinking on all this, is I wanted to come up with something that you could do with kind of anything that you would have around, cardstock and some stamps maybe, or some pictures or whatever you have. And so what I'm really going to teach you today is how to change that cardstock shape. So in my world, I call them fun folds. These are simple. They're so easy to do. And what I'm hoping is that you will take these ideas and you will take them into your card making and just enhance the look of what you're doing. When we get to the end, I'll tell you all about the kits and what you can order and all that kind of stuff. So right now, let's go ahead and look at the first card. It's going to be this card. It's a Z Fold card, and it's a pre-recorded message from me, so you won't be able to ask questions during the recording, but as soon as the recording is finished, we'll ask questions, and then we'll move on to the second card. All right, I think we're ready. And I want to show you how to make this card, but I'm going to start out with the basics. During this card, you'll see just the basics on how to cut and score, and then later on, we'll just refer to these things that you've already learned. So all of the cardstock arrives, and it is 8.5 by 11. And to make a card, it needs to be cut in half. And so what I have here is a personal trimmer, and I'm going to move the arm out so that I can have this nice long, this one goes all the way to 17 inches. And I'm going to slide my cardstock in here because half of 11 is 5.5. So I'm going to find the 5.5 mark, which is right there. Now this cutter has 2 pieces. This is a scoring blade. I'm just going to put that out of the way because I don't need that right now. And I'm just going to slice this right down, and voila, I have 2 perfectly cut 5.5 by 8.5 pieces for my cards. All right, well, let's say you don't have a trimmer like this. Let me show you another way that you could cut cardstock beautifully in half. So here is a cutting mat. You may have a cutting mat at home. This one is wonderful because it has numbers on it already. So I can put this cardstock up to the 0 mark. I can look for my 5.5. I can put a metal ruler right on this line, get out my hobby knife, and keep my fingers out of the way. That's really important. I've actually cut that thumb off, and just bring that straight down. Cut straight on that line, and here we go. I need another cut there. There we go. And I have another one. Okay, there we go. And I have 2 perfectly cut pieces, again, ready for my card. But maybe you don't have a mat like this or a metal ruler. You always want to cut against a metal ruler because if you cut against a plastic ruler, you'll gouge it up. So you could do something like this, where you would cut against a metal pan or something. You can measure your 5.5 with a ruler, put a mark on it, and then just cut straight along a metal edge to cut your piece as well. So that's another way with just things that you might have at home. Now, my least favorite way to cut is actually with scissors, because I don't think you get a very good cut with that, but I'll show you the best way to make that happen. So I have a piece of cardstock here, again, and I want to cut it at that 5.5 mark. So I'm using my ruler, and I'm going to put a mark here at 5.5 inches. So I can see that that's right there. And another mark down here at 5.5 inches. You can see that. And then I'm going to take a piece of cardboard, and I'm going to match it up on these lines. And I'm going to take a binder clip and clip the top in place and hold the bottom in place here. And I'm going to use the longest blade scissors I can find, and I'm going to cut. And I'm going to use that piece of straight cardboard as my piece to cut up against it to make it straight. So there we go. We'll see how well I did there. not too bad. So there we go. There's another piece, and here we are with the other piece, and that came in place pretty well. So I got two identical pieces. Not quite as straight as with the blade, but that'll work. All right, so let me bring the card back in. So now you can see we've got our piece cut in half. Now what I need to do is score that so that I can put these special folds in. And again, there's lots of different ways to score. I'll show you my favorite ways, and then I'll show you some ways that you might be able to do this at home. I'm going to bring back in this personal trimmer. And remember I told you that down here is a scoring blade? Well, it is. And I happen to know that for this particular card, I need to score at 7. So I'm going to put this blade down, and this I'm going to go back and forth a couple of times, and that's going to put a score line. Can you see the score line there? And then I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut again at 4 1/4. So here's 4, and there's a quarter, or not cut, but score again, and go back at 4 1/4. And you know, I flipped this over because can you already see that the paper's beginning to have a bend to it? So I like to fold it where the side that I scored is out, because I've broken the fibers there. So I'm going to fold that here. Whoops, let me put the bone folder so I can make that nice, even thing. And then I'm going to fold this back here, and that's the base of my card. So now I have that nice Z fold. So if you don't have a trimmer like that, you might have something like this. And this is also for scoring. And so I would take my piece, and I just put the little marks here at 4 1/4. So I put my little markers at 4 1/4 and at 7. And this actually comes with its own stylus. So I can put the little ball up there, pull down here, and then I can flip this over so I have it correct on that side, and pull that down. And then again, I have another perfect score ready to go for my card. Use my bone folder to get that perfect. But you may not have either one of these tools, so let me show you what you could do maybe at home. Here's another piece, and move that away. Maybe you have a ruler. So if you have a ruler, you would want to go ahead and mark those two places I told you before, 4 1/4 and 7. And again, do that on the bottom down here at 4 1/4 and 7. And then with a ruler, if you don't have something like a bone folder, you can actually grab a butter knife and just put this up against here, match that with that, and just go along here with your butter knife. Go along a couple of times till you feel like you've got a nice score. And then we'll do it again on the other side. I should have marked it on the other side, but anyway, I can do that now. We'll mark that again at 4 1/4 here, and 4 1/4 here. And again, I'm doing that because I want my score lines, I want this to fold really well. And here we are, again with my little butter knife. So there we go. And again, I have a good fold here with bone folder. You could use a spoon to fold something like that. You could use the edge of your bunny knife and have fun with it. So there you go. So there's a whole bunch of different ways to score to get that same perfect scoring. So I'm going to grab one of these that I did here and show you how to finish this card. So what I've done for this card is I've used lovely lipstick cardstock and some matching designer paper, and I want to show you what that looks like. Over here I have an assortment of this designer paper all laid out for you. So look at all the beautiful colors in here. All of these colors come in this assortment pack. It's all 6 by 6, and look at the backs. The backs have just all sorts of fun little things with shoes and lipstick and little patterns. And don't worry about knowing what colors these are, because every time we have a package of cardstock, it tells you what the solid colors are that go with the printed paper. So you never have to worry about, oh my goodness, what's this going to go with, because it's all spelled out for you. So there you go. All right, so now what we need to do is we need to do a little stamping and putting the card together. So I want to take this little piece, and let's see, here's what we're aiming for. I always like to have my sample out. And here's my stamps. These are clear mount stamps, and they come in a full set of stamps that are, I think it's buried right here. Here we go. So here's the set. So you get all of these stamps in the same set, and you can pull them out and put them onto a clear block. So they just get assembled, they stick beautifully on a clear block, you wash them and then put them back in the stamp set and use your blocks over and over again. So this one I'm going to go ahead and stamp. I'm going to use black Memento ink, and the black Memento ink, I'm going to do this beautiful stiletto high heel shoe. There we go. Of course, I'm not going anywhere, so I don't think I need a high heel shoe at the moment, but that's all right. And then this is lovely lipstick ink, which you'll see the same color as the paper, so that's fun because it all matches. And I'm going to ink up my Hello Fabulous, and I'm just going to pop that right there. And I can see right through the stamp, so I can see that I've gotten it perfectly straight and everything. Now I'm going to take my lovely lipstick marker and just color in my shoe. So simple. It's so nice to have all the colors that match. That just helps me when I'm designing my projects, and it helps me have the finished project just look so put together because everything just goes together. And this is Blushing Bride that I'm putting in the center. So that piece is ready to go. The next thing I need to do is stamp my inside. And so you can see I've got these cute little flowers here and I'm greeting there. So I'm going to grab my flower, and again, that's going to be in my Memento ink. So I'm going to put a set of flowers down here. Oops, I can even see through there that it didn't ink it well. So here we go. Ink it there. And good, that looks good. And put one up here. And bring back my lipstick for my greeting. And I love what this says. It says, "Life is short, buy the shoes." I totally agree with that. So here we go. Life is short, buy the shoes. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in more of these markers and just do some quick coloring to add a little design element here, just to add a little pizzazz to the inside of this card. I just love to have a little extra going on in the center. So, oh, these markers do have two ends. I generally use the brush tip end. That's really my favorite to do. But then you can use the fine tip end, like on this one, if you want to get into these little tiny spots. That works really well to get into the little tiny spots. So you can see, just get a little bit in. But sometimes I use the brush tip too, just carefully to get in there, to get those little spots. So there we go. So those are all, that's all our stamping that we need to do. Now it's a matter of putting the card together. And sometimes I think this might be the hardest part. Now, what I like to do is I like to use this multi-glue. It's a liquid glue. It's super important to use just a teeny tiny amount. That is such a small amount. I'm going to go ahead and put that on this piece. These have already been pre-cut. And then I'm going to put a small amount also on this backing piece, so I can put that into the inside of the card. And you can see those super tiny dots. They are going to spread and hold really, really well. So that piece is going to go in here, just like that. Push that down. And then this piece, I need my little designer paper. I've got that flipped over, and even the other side's cute. Such cute stuff. And that piece is going to go on this little flap that we cut, that we scored to open up. All right, so now I'm getting close. And the really important thing to remember on this is where to glue it, because I don't want glue back here. That's not going to work well at all. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue there and a little bit of glue right there. And that's going to hold this in place beautifully. All right, there we go. So that is a Z-fold card. You know how to cut, you know how to score, stamp, and do all these things. I hope you love it.
All right, Laura, I think we're good to go. You can go ahead and answer it. I don't think we have any questions at this point, but we'll see if anybody has any comments or questions about that first card. Give everybody a chance to think that over. Very lovely, by the way. I thought that was really fun.
Thank you. Thank you. So let me just start telling you about the next card. So this is the,
You know what?
oh,
We
okay.
do have one question. I don't
Okay.
think it says um, what it says what size was the shoe on, but I wonder if if the question is actually what side was the shoe on?
Or what size is the paper maybe that the shoe is on?
Oh, okay. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a typical question. So that's actually a really great question right now, because one of the things that you can get after this class is actually a PDF. And so that's what I have for you after the class. It's a PDF and it has all the measurements, all the sizes, and basic directions on how to make these cards. And so that'll come to you free when you purchase a kit, or you could just purchase this separately. So either way. So that's a great question, a great segue.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you. And thanks for helping me clarify what that question was. And I saw the questioner nodding their head like that was what they were asking. So I think we got the answer to that one. Thank you so much. So yeah, so I will go ahead and screen share your second video.
Here's the second fun fold that I wanted to show you. A very simple fold, but I think just lovely. It opens up like this, and you can see it's got a corner fold there. And so it just makes a fun look. So let me show you how to cut and score this one. You already know how to cut cardstock in half, so I'm here with my half sheet of saffron paper, and I'm going to bring my cutter in to show you how to score this all. But I wanted to first tell you how I picked these colors. This is a sampling of the Pressed Flower Designer Series paper, and these are the solid colors that go with it. And so all as I did was select this particular piece of paper, and then I selected the two colors that I wanted to use for this cardstock. So it was a super easy process because I was given all the information on how to put the colors together. So even though it makes me look brilliant, it's super easy. All right, so let's get to the cutting and scoring on this piece. So I'm going to bring back in my simply scored piece here, and I do have to do that same score at 4 1/4. So I'm going to put this in at 4 1/4, and I'm going to make sure I use the scoring blade, not the cutting blade, because I just want to score. So I'm going to score it there, and then I want to do this angle fold. What I'm going to do is bring in a ruler here and a pencil, and I'm going to come and mark this at 3 3/4 inches up here, just a little tick mark there, and the same thing down on the side here, another little tick mark here at 3 3/4. Okay, so I have those lines. Now I'm going to slide that back into my cutter here, and I'm going to put those tick marks right in this little trough so it'll be scored right there. And again, I'm using the scoring blade, that's the lighter one. I'm just going to come along here and do that a couple times, and there I've got my score line. And so I'm going to go ahead and fold that, grab my bone folder, and kind of make sure that it's nice and straight, so I can straighten it up a little bit if I need to. So right there, straighten that up a little bit, and then go ahead and do my fold for my card. So I'm going to just do that. So there's my basic fold. That's your basic corner fold. And to accent this fold, I want to put a piece of white cardstock inside, and this piece of white cardstock is at 4 1/4 or 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'll put these pieces on. Now I have to be careful, again, when I'm doing my gluing, not to glue up behind here because that's where the card opens. So again, I'm going to use my technique where I just put in 4 little tiny dots of glue. I'm going to put that down on the blueberry bushel blue paper. Decide, oh yes, I think I like it that way. Then I'm going to check here and see where the glue should go, and I can see that it goes from this corner to that corner, but nothing up there. So I'm going to flip this over, kind of try to remember that, and put it there. Let's see if I did well. Look at that. Yes, I did. I did very well just doing that. And then this one slipped just a little bit while I was doing that, but that's okay. I can fix that. And push this down so it's even. Oh, good. That's looking great. So there we are. I already went ahead and stamped life is better with a friend like you. And it is, isn't it? I'm glad we're friends. I feel like Mr. Rogers. Anyway, so then we'll go here and just put that piece right there. And then the last thing that I need to do is get this piece glued in place. I always like to do that when it's not glued, because if I don't do it well, I can always flip it over. So here we go. We'll see how well I do. Thinking of you with all my heart. Oh, I did do well, so I don't have to flip it over. Again, we'll go ahead and do those few dots of glue. And you can see how I've moved in from the edge a little bit with my dots of glue. So when the glue spreads, it's not going to ooze out and be on my card. So that goes right in there. And here we have a beautiful, whoops, I missed that. Let me just fix that because I still can. A beautiful corner fold card. And you can glue this piece down if you like. All right, let's move to the next one.
We can go ahead and see if there are any other questions about that card. While people are thinking for a minute, if I can ask a question, I hope that's okay.
Sure.
I make cards a lot, not necessarily with rubber stamps, but with my photos. I'm just wondering why you use that glue. Not that it doesn't look extremely effective, but I tend to use double-sided tape because that way I never have glue where I don't want it to be. And I'm just wondering why I should maybe switch, or what the values of the glue is the value of the glue over the tape.
Well, that is a fabulous question. What I have found over time is that double-sided tape will actually stop working with humidity. So if you say you have something that stays around for 6 months or a year and you have it propped up on a mantle or something, all of a sudden it'll be in pieces and the pieces will come apart. And so what I found with the liquid glue is that it's permanent, it stays in place, and you can't actually even remove the layers without damaging the piece, which could not, I mean, that could be a problem if you've got a very special photo you're using or whatever. But for card making, I love the idea that once it's in place, it's there for good. And it's also an extremely cost-effective way to use adhesive. That little bottle, if I'm careful, I can make maybe 100 cards with lots of layers in them with one little bottle of glue. And when I use double-sided tape or a tape runner or things like that, I can get about 30, and the cost is almost twice as much. So for a sixth of the price, I can use a bottle of glue. Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next time I'm thinking about going out and buying more double-sided tape, maybe I'll think about the glue, because I do go through a lot of it. Does anybody else have any other questions that they'd like to put in the chat before we go on to the next card? Looks like we'll be all set to go. We'll go ahead with the third video. Here it is.
Well, here is card number 3 in our simple folds. And I call this one the Bandaid Fold. And you'll know in a minute why I do that. It opens up like this, and you can see that I have a strip here. I call this strip the Bandaid because the sticky is here and here. Anyway, let me show you how this goes together. First thing I do is start with a beautiful collection of paper. This is the Peaceful Poppies Designer Series paper. Love, love, love all these beautiful, beautiful spring flowers. And then, of course, these are the solid colors that are paired with it. And I've picked the Poppy Parade to go with my, my paper for this card. So let me slide all of these beautiful papers out of the way and show you how we're going to make this Band-Aid card. Okay, we're going to bring back in the personal trimmer, and I've put some notes up here so that you can see what I'm going to do and have those measurements. So again, we have 8.5 by 11, but this time we're going to put it in and cut it in the other direction. We've been cutting it across. Now we're going to cut it up and down, and we're going to cut that at the 4 1/4 mark. So I'm going to use my cutting blade and just come down and cut that at 4 1/4. So there we are at 4 1/4. Then the next thing I'm going to do, and I have to remember to do this with my scoring blade, is I'm going to put this at 5 1/2. I want to score my card at 5 1/2 so that it folds in half. And so Let me move that over because my 5.5 mark is right up here. So there's my 5.5 mark, so I'm going to score that. All right, now I need to cut 2 pieces off in the same direction, and I'm going to cut at 9.5 and it's 7. So let me put this up to 9.5. There we are. And again, I'm going to use the cutting blade to cut that piece off. Okay, now I've cut that piece off, and that piece is about 1.5 inches. So that's what I've cut off. I need to save that. And then I'm going to cut again at 7. So I'll find the 7 mark. Okay, and I'm going to cut again at 7. All right, so now I have I've cut this into 3 parts. So you can see there's my 3 parts, and there's my score line. Okay, let's put this card together. So the next thing I want to do in this, since this is the side that I scored, that's the side I want to fold under. So I'm going to flip that over, get my bone folder out, and give that a good score. And then this is going to be a piece that goes toward the bottom, and then this is going to be my piece that goes here. But we'll see that better when I slip this white piece in. So you can see this white piece is going to go on the inside, like that. It's going to be glued in place. And then this piece is part of the front of the card. It's going to sit right there. And then this is my Band-Aid. So let's get the Band-Aid stamped. Well, I chose the painted poppy stamp set because it goes with the paper and the designer paper, and I'm picking out this one particular stamp. Now, you can see that there's a lot of stamps in here, and they're the red rubber, but they're very sticky on the other side, so I'm going to stick that onto my block, and that stays really, really well. That's like really stuck on there, so it's not going to go anywhere. So I'm going to bring in my black ink pad again. This is the black Memento ink, and I'm going to stamp my poppy. I want that over to the left as far as I can so my greeting can fit in there. So I'm going to put my poppy in place. Ah, that's beautiful. And then my greetings come from this Peaceful Moments stamp set. So I'm using a happy birthday greeting and then the inside greeting as well from there. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp my happy birthday. And here we are. We'll go right. Let's see, right there. I think that's a good spot. Oh, yes. And then I want to color this. So a couple of things I'm going to do is I'm going to sponge, and I have my Old Olive ink here and a sponge with Old Olive tab on it so I know which one that is. And I'm just going to go ahead and add some grass or whatever you call it, land, grass, whatever. Just add that in there so my poppy doesn't look like it's floating up in the air. Then I'll bring in my Pear Pizzazz marker and just do a little bit of coloring in here. It doesn't have to be exact. The lines already are pretty clear about that. And then a Poppy Parade marker, which is of course the same color as the paper, same color that's printed in the designer paper. Everything coordinates. So love, love, love how this all goes together. And I can leave these little white tips on my flower so that it's just a pretty little flower. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that to my Band-Aid piece. So that's going to go on here like this. Again, these little tiny dots. Oh, you're going to get tired of hearing me say that, but little tiny dots. So we're going to do that. Okay, that's ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the inside of my card and get that ready as well. And let's see what I did there. I did that in the Memento, so let's do that in the Memento again too. It says, wishing you every happiness on your special, every happiness this special day will bring. So we'll do that. Straight up. Oh, good. That looks good. And we'll glue this in place. Again, get the glue in here and put that on the back. This really helps me see where my pieces go when I have this in place. All right, so here's the piece I cut off. We're going to lay that at the bottom here. Hopefully you can see that here. I'll put the white back down here so you can see that. Put that back there. And what's really important on my Band-Aid is just to have my adhesive on the top and bottom. So I'm going to just go ahead and put a line of adhesive there, a line of adhesive there, and lay this down. Oh, I forgot my designer series paper. I knew that was missing. Ah, got to get that in place. So let me get those ready to go. And those should be right side up. I want to make sure my poppies are all going up. I don't want any crooked upside down poppies. That would make me unhappy for spring. And this piece will go up here. Oh, that looks great. I just love, love, love this paper. All right, so I'm going to hold this in place. Got my pieces. My greeting is in the middle, and I'm going to go ahead and put on my Band-Aid. There we go. And there is my Band-Aid card. And hopefully if it sticks together for one more second. There, now I can open it up and you can see our greeting on the inside. Isn't that fun? I hope you'll make lots and lots of these.
Okay. Any questions about that card? I don't see any other questions in the chat at the moment. If I may be so bold, as a non-experienced stamper, something that occurred to me was you don't seem to be waiting between stamping and like going ahead and coloring it. And I was just curious about how quickly the ink dries. It must dry pretty quick, or maybe you paused the video.
No, actually, that's a great question. The ink does dry very, very quickly. I would say, though, it would be ideal before coloring to give it a minute, because if the black ink can at least get into the paper, then for sure nothing's going to destroy it or get it to bleed. Sometimes you'll see when I'm coloring, I'll stay away from the lines when I'm on video, because I'm a little nervous that I haven't waited enough time. So that's a great question.
Okay, so that permission to color inside the lines when you're on video.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so there's a question in the chat about where you can buy some of the beautiful papers and tools that you're using to make the card.
Well, that's a great question. I'm a demonstrator for Stampin' Up, rubber stamping and scrapbooking company, and I'm an independent demonstrator. So you can buy all of those products right on my website or through me. And all my contact information is going to be sent to you guys within probably 24 hours. So you'll know how to find me. But you can go to my website is laura@studio1stampers.com. That's my email. And you can email me anytime.
Right. And you don't need to worry about, as participants, you don't need to worry about figuring out how to spell that and rushing to get pen and paper, because we're going to be sending all of that to you. We have all of your email addresses. And as Laura said, we'll be sending out an email as a follow-up with lots of good information to you within the next 24 hours so that you'll have that. So, okay, it seems like maybe we're ready to go on to the fourth video. So I'll go ahead and cue that up.
Well, here's the fourth card in our series, and I call this a cutaway card because we're just going to cut away a piece of it and turn it. Not too different than the one we just did. I'll tell you how I designed this card. This comes with the Good Morning Magnolia stamp set. This is a big stamp set with two boxes because there's so many stamps involved in that one. And of course it matches the Magnolia Lane Designer Series paper. So here's that gorgeous, gorgeous collection of paper. And here of course are the solid colors that go with it. And I've picked the pink and I've picked this piece to go with this card. And of course the matching inks. So let me slide that out of the way and we'll get started on how to make this cutaway card. So I'm going to bring back in my personal trimmer, and we're going to do the same thing we did before, and we're going to cut the cardstock in half vertically. So we're going to be at 4 1/4, and we'll do a quick cut line right there. Just make me double check if I'm at 4 1/4. Yep, that looks just right. Okay, and just cut that straight down there. And I've got enough for 2 cards. And then I'm going to score it. I'm going to turn it and score it again at 5 1/2. Somehow these measurements are probably sounding kind of familiar to you by now. There we go. And this is going to be scoring, so I don't want to cut that. I want to get my scoring blade back in place and score that. Okay, that's scored. Now I want to cut at 8 1/2, so I'm going to slide this down to the 8 1/2 mark and cut away this one piece. All right, so we'll cut that. So now I have these 2 pieces, and there's my score line. All right, that's all I need to do to prepare this card. I'm going to get out my bone folder and give that a nice crease here, like right along here. That's great. And then this piece is going to end up going across there. So let me go ahead and put my designer series paper in place so I don't forget that till later. All right, put that in place. And remember, just the reason to use such a small amount of glue is that it doesn't saturate the paper, and it's really, really strong and holds in place. And so you can see, I don't see any glue marks, anything, nothing oozing out. Less is more. It's a fabulous way to go. Now on this card, what I've done is I've done a little stamping on the inside here. So I'm going to bring in this big stamp. This is this beautiful, beautiful spring magnolia stamp. And I'll just put it right here. I'm going to ink that up with Blushing Bride ink, and I'm just going to ink it this way. It's a little easier for me to use it that way. And then flip it over and pick my location. I want that flower right on the edge, so I'm just going to push that down and hold it in place. Good pressure on there. Count to 3 at least, and then bring it straight up. Ah, beautiful. I love it when it works. So there we are so far. Now I just need to do my white piece, and that has a little blossom here in black. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that in place there. And then also the Thinking of You. And so that will go right here and straight up. Oh, perfect. And now it's time for me to just add a little bit of coloring with my markers. And I'm doing, of course, the matching marker, which is Blushing Bride, and a little bit of Pear Pizzazz, because I like that for my green color. And I don't have to do everything. I don't have to. Magnolias have a little bit of the white tip to them, so I just need a little hint of that pink. And then go in and add the green on these leaves. And again, I don't have to be super careful, just kind of lay the color in. And there, that piece is ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and glue that to the pink piece. That's the piece that I cut off, so we haven't wasted anything on this card. We've used this piece just to back up the white piece. And now I have to be careful to remember where to glue, because I don't want to glue over here. I want my card to open. So I'm going to flip this over and remember to glue just on this side. So put my glue here, 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 and here. And then I can lay that in place. And oh, beautiful. Just makes me feel like spring. So there you go. That's your 4th Fun Fold class, and I hope you've had a great time, and I hope that you will continue to use these measurements and these shapes to make many, many cards to wow and enjoy and bring joy to lots and lots of friends. So goodbye for now.
Okay. All right. 4 great videos. Does anybody have any questions? You can go ahead and put those in the chat if you have any questions or comments about what we've seen today. And then Laura has some additional information for us. I don't see any questions coming up at the moment. So Laura, if you want to go ahead and get started, there may be a couple more questions that come through. So, but you can go ahead with the other information that you had to tell us about.
Great. So these are the cards that you saw. So the 4 cards with the 4 different folds. Those will look very familiar to you. So what I'm offering to you is a kit. And so what I'll give to you is all of the paper cut and scored and ready for you to add your own designs to. But not only will I give you these 4 cards, I've also designed 4 additional cards that you'll notice are the same folds, but in different colors. So here's one that's our Bandaid Fold, and that's in a different color. And now what's interesting about these cards, I don't know if you can see very carefully, but this one says, "I can't wait to social distance with you." Now that's actually not a stamp. What that is a special download promotion that Stampin' Up! Is doing right now. And this is what they look like, and then I'll explain to you what that promotion is all about. So it's 15 pages of different, oh, I'm not doing well, of different graphics, just all kinds of graphics. I'm just going to go quickly just to give you an idea of how much is on there. Can you see those okay? I hope you can. Okay. So just to give you an idea of how much is on here. Some are in black and white, some are in color, some are words, some are graphics, just all kinds of great stuff. And they're all set up to coordinate with different colors of cardstock and punches and just all kinds of great ways you can cut these up. So what this is actually a charity. Stampin' Up! Has taken their artists that our company and designed all of these pages, and they're for you to download. So you can go to my website, and you can go to the Give Back COVID-19 Give Back program, and you will have a chance to print all of these on your own printer. And then you can print it as many times as you want and make as many cards as you want, or scrapbook pages, or whatever you want to do with them, because once you've downloaded them, they're yours. And it's $12, and 100% of that $12 is going to the World Health Organization and to other organizations that are going to specifically help combat this virus, which is something that's all on our hearts and minds these days. So I'm super excited about that. So that's a way that you can make the cards that you just saw today, and the cards that are involved in the kit as well. So that's what, so that's what I want to tell you about that. And you'll get all the information on how to order all of those things and how to get the kits, how to pick up the kits. All of that stuff is coming to your inbox soon.
Right, right. And you and I also talked about how, if you don't have stamps at home, you could use, cutting those things from the PDF, or also, using just whatever else you happen to have at home as well.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, especially with Mother's Day coming up, we're all thinking about cards that we need to be sending out.
Great, great. Well, thank you so much. Are there any other questions?
I don't see any. We might give everybody maybe another minute just in case there's another question. So anyway, just keeping an eye on the chat here. We're so glad that everybody could join us. I'll give one more plug from the library. We just want to make sure that everybody knows that we are issuing temporary cards, temporary library cards, not greeting cards, temporary library cards to anyone who lives within the District 200 area. So even people who are in unincorporated areas that would normally have to pay for library cards, we are issuing free temporary cards through this time for anyone who lives within the District 200 area. So if you know friends or neighbors who are in unincorporated areas, or teachers in District 200, please let them know that they have access to that. Okay, it looks like we did have a couple more things coming through the chat, so let me make sure to read through those. Someone says, I can't wait to try these folds, and thank you. Someone asked about how to get the kits, and again, we will be providing that contact information with all the details on the different things that you could order if you wanted to in a follow-up email. Again, since you received the link to this Zoom meeting, obviously we have your email address, and we'll be sending that to you within the next day. Someone else just mentioned how much they enjoyed the class, and thank you. A couple people are saying that we are inspired. They love the class, and they're grateful for Zoom. Yeah, when we can't get together in person as much as we would like to be doing this at your home or at the library, we are grateful that we can see and get all these wonderful ideas virtually and be inspired. So thank you so much for that. Someone else was asking where the video would be replayed. We did record this session, and so that will be available. They've got to do some editing and magic in our IT department, so it may be about a week before the recording of this particular class is available. That will be on the library's YouTube page. But as far as the individual instruction in the YouTube videos, that we screen shared with you, those links will be in the email that I send you within the next day. So you won't have to wait. You'll be able to watch those videos, to go through it, pause it as you need to, so you can follow right along with Laura's instructions, and you'll be able to make those cards right away. We don't want you to have to wait because it's exciting and we all want to get going with card making right away. Thinking maybe even asking for free card making time from family members for Mother's Day weekend. Leave me alone. I'm making cards. Anyway, just a thought. I think that's all. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating today and putting your questions and comments in the chat. I'm glancing through to make sure that we got everything. I'm pretty sure we answered all of the questions. Again, we will be sending that email out soon. Thank you so much to Laura and for putting all this together. I can't imagine all the time it took to design those cards and do those videos for us. Thank you very much. And so unless you have anything else to say.
Just thank you to everybody for coming, and thank you so much to the library for making this possible. You guys are fabulous, and I'm so thrilled to be able to work with you. So enjoy, and lots of happy card making to everyone.
Absolutely. Everybody stay safe and enjoy making cards soon. We'll get that email to you with all the information soon. Thanks so much, Laura. Bye-bye.